Hello, it is 9 p.m. and welcome to this Hurricane Dorian update. And this storm has gotten quite large, as you see here. Now, it has grazed the Florida coast, not caused too many problems there, fortunately. Not much damage, not many power outages, not much flooding. But you can see it's moving north-northwest extremely slowly, and it is approaching South Carolina. Look at this. Look at the convection along the storm. And the storm has gotten huge, as you can see. As these storms weaken, they often become much bigger in area. So let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center and get the latest on Hurricane Dorian. So we will go to the public advisory first, which is being slow. Okay, here we go. So here we go. A life-threatening storm surge with significant coastal flooding is expected along the large portion of the southeast and mid-Atlantic coasts of the United States during the next couple of days. Florida was spared, but the Carolinas are going to get hit much harder. So summary as of 8 p.m. Its location is 30.9 north, 79.8 west. It's about 130 miles south of Charleston, South Carolina. Maximum sustained winds are 110 miles an hour. And its present movement is north-northwest at 8 miles an hour. And the minimum central pressure is 959 millibars. That's 28.31 inches. And according to the hurricane hunters, the hurricane force winds extend outward up to 70 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 195. Wow, note that. 195 miles from the center. This is a big storm. It's growing in area. That's a concern. So I'm trying to figure out what we can look at first, as far as let me talk about this first, because one of my viewers brought this up. When Dorian was over the Bahamas, and this is why it weakened, it cooled the water down. It cooled the water. It drew a lot of heat out of the ocean. So we have a 1.3 degrees Celsius. Or let me move this over. I'm trying to move this over. 1.3 degrees Celsius or 3 degrees Fahrenheit temperature anomaly below normal. So that's pretty impressive. So it cooled it down at least over 3 degrees, which is, pretty impressive. But that shows you how heat fuels these storms. But it's moving into much more above normal water, especially as we head throughout the whole East Coast. We have plenty of above normal water around. So we'll look at the power outage map. There's not much going on right now in California, in Florida and Georgia and South Carolina. Oddly enough, California has the highest amount of power outages right now. So let's take a look at the models. We'll look at the GFS and track Dorian, and then we also want to look at the spaghetti models too. So let me look at the spaghetti models so you can get an idea. It's pretty much the models pretty much all agree on this track. Grazing the Carolinas, it may try to make landfall in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and then it heads out to sea. But it's a big storm, so it's going to have effects for the whole eastern seaboard, and then it goes into Nova Scotia. And this thing could still be every bit as strong as a hurricane when it gets to Nova Scotia. With these water temperatures, it wouldn't surprise me. Nova Scotia, just because they're far north, it doesn't mean they're going to be protected. And then this thing goes way up there, close to Greenland, which isn't good for the ice, obviously. It's going to bring a lot of warmth and moisture with it. Not what we need. So let's go and take a look at what is happening. So here's a GFS. Tracks it along the coast right here, and then out. So, but you can see that rain shield. Let me switch to let me switch to a different region here so you can see eastern U.S. so we can get a better idea. Here we go. So you see here it is. It looks like GFS has it make the landfall. Tries to make it landfall right in South Carolina, but it doesn't quite make it ashore. But the eye wall does get onto and that's the most damaging part of the storm. And one thing it also does is it seems to maybe strengthen it a little bit. Maybe it's probably not going to strengthen that much, but it's a formidable storm. And then it moves into the North Carolinas. It does strengthen a little bit when it gets to North Carolina. Does it look like it maintains the strength? It's going to maintain its strength, maybe weakening just a little bit, but it's as long as the center is over ocean. But you can see it just grazes the coast, and the eye might go over the Outer Banks. It might, and Cape Hatteras. It might. That is going to be a very hard-hit area, and it probably will be inundated. One thing's for sure, there's going to be storm surge because you see these strong winds coming in from the east. They're going to put the Florida didn't have this, all right? So you're going to have that strong onshore wind, There's going to be major storm surge in the Carolinas, major storm surge damage. And then this is Friday, and then it moves out over the ocean. And it does not look like we would see any significant wind effects, but we certainly should be seeing some, and we probably will be seeing some ocean effects and flooding at the beach, and some coastal beach erosion. Maybe a little bit of the rain band gets over to North Carolina, to the Cape there. So let's look at the NAM model. It's so nice to at least be able to load the models again. So let's look at the NAM model and track this. So the NAM pretty much follows the GFS. It looks like it does. Like I said, all the models pretty much are in agreement with how this is going to pan out at this point as far as the track goes. The intensity and the extent of the rain, those are wild cards, of course. But this storm, it remains extremely strong. It remains a hurricane right until it gets into Nova Scotia. That's what I think. That's what I think is going to happen. So let's now look at windy.com and look at some more models from this, and we'll see what the track is. So this is windy.com. This will show us. We're looking at the URL model. So we'll just look at the URL model with us again. Most of the models pretty much agree on the track and the intensity. I mean, we have a pretty much complete agreement on where this thing is going. Unlike earlier, at least we know what's going to be happening. I think we have a good idea of that. So here's Wednesday at this is right now. So let's go to tomorrow morning at 8 in the morning. It's starting to approach Charleston and make a landfall. This is the eye wall right here, right outside Charleston. All right, and this is the sustained winds. So the sustained winds in this area are up near hurricane force or over hurricane force. But of course, if we put the wind gusts in here, you'll see that bright color, which means they're exceeding 100 miles an hour, and that just stays offshore. All right, so let's now move it up to 3 p.m. on Thursday, and you see it's starting to try to make a landfall. The worst, the eye wall looks like it's going to try to get on shore right in the immediate Carolina coast, right here, Myrtle Beach. You better watch out because it's coming. It's going to come awfully close to you. You can see it. The core of it just stays just offshore. I'll go back to the sustained winds. If we can. So move this up to 11 a.m. And you will see here that at 11 a.m. Friday, it's starting to really accelerate. But look at what happens. The eye actually goes right over Cape Hatteras. So this area could be devastated with flooding and strong winds. Because again, if we look at the wind gusts, you will see the wind gusts are still in excess of 100 miles an hour. And these strong winds make it all the way. The wind gusts, we have hurricane force wind gusts at least probably 30 miles inland as well. There's going to be a strong power outage impact in the eastern section of both North Carolina and South Carolina, but it'll probably be worst right along the coast, and the further inland you go, it probably should subside significantly. So this is Friday at 6 p.m. Let's go to 5 p.m. Friday. So now this thing is on the move. It's back out over the ocean fully. And you can see our area will be getting wind gusts up to 35 miles an hour Friday night. I'm just going to keep the gusts on so you can see. And then as this is midnight, you see, though, it's moving more easterly, but we still could have wind gusts up near 40 to 45 miles an hour and scattered power outages possible. Here is Saturday at, let's go Saturday morning, Saturday 8 a.m. This is probably when it gets closest to Long Island. And some of the east end could see some tropical storm conditions as far as the wind speeds go. And then this takes this out of our area by Saturday at 7 p.m. And now it's moving over to Nova Scotia. Now it's really picking up speed. But still, look at these wind gusts. Still, we've still seen purples here. So wind gusts could still be hurricane force when it makes a landfall in Nova Scotia, and then finally starts weakening and not be a hurricane anymore. So what I want to now is look at is the rainfall. So we're going to actually go and look at the total accumulated precip, because this thing is also going to bring a lot of rain. And we'll look at the NAM, and I'll run this all the way out, and you will see that we could see 10 inches of rain possible in some of these coastal areas. So not only are you going to have to worry about the storm surge, you will also have to worry about heavy flooding. You can see a foot of rain possible in these areas. All right, that is the NAM. Let's look at the GFS as far as the rainfall goes. Similar amounts again. This particular area around Myrtle Beach, eastern side. These Carolina areas, the Carolina coast is going to get hammered by this. But then as far as the heaviest of the rain, it stays away from our area. So that is something. We'll have to see if that pans out, because the storms do have the tendency to get larger, and it's already grown in size, and maybe the models don't quite have a handle on that. Anyway, that will conclude this Hurricane Dorian update. Again, I urge my viewers, stay tuned to the Hurricane Center and your local National Weather Service for the latest on Hurricane Dorian. Take care.